Good morning, guys. Danny here at Partay, saying Merry Christmas Eve to everyone. And yes, thank you, Mr. Crow. I did receive the Supreme 8. You pull that over here. I was trying to be careful because this stuff gets all over everything. It's real easy, but there's your interesting color. Okay. I want you to pay attention inside of the container. Okay. So let's have that. Sorry, we got people running around in the house because it's Christmas Eve, so obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. So I have right here the Optima HD 143X. It's a 3000 maximum lumen projector. Generally pushes out around 1600 to around 1800 in eco mode. Less than that, according to, what type of images you're showing. If you're showing mostly sort of contrast images, when I say contrast, actually black level images, it's obviously not going to be as bright. And right now I'm setting it just a little over 10 feet. It's about 10 feet 2 inches from where I normally have it here, which is right at 12. That did that for a reason too. So what I have here, let me show you these. Many of you will remember this panel here. This is the panel that I did that was a replication of what I believed to be the Supreme 8. Okay, I've had this. Put the black around the edge to give you some context in another video. It's the same panel. No changes. You can see there's still some little smudges and drops on it where I've used it, scraped it, where I put it back into the closet over here. This is the Supreme 8. Okay, so I just took, now what you'll notice, if you kind of pay attention, you'll see it a little bit in the video, there's a seam here. I did 2 coats, 1 coat, just to see the difference, right? So the 1 coat, there's a couple little thin places there. You can kind of see where it's thin, but I just wanted to at least give it the option that maybe 1 coat works better, 2 coats may make it darker, so we just went ahead and cut it down the seam, and you'll see that in the video. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, if you look at it, the shades are a little different, okay? Mine is a neutral gray, meaning that it's not made from tertiary, so it means that it's not made from different colors. This is just, ultimately it is, considering that, white is made up of all colors, but the truth is that this is made from a white, a pure white, and a black. Okay, this is made from tertiary colors. This is actually that interesting color that you hear so much about is gunmetal. It's just gunmetal gray. That's all it is. It's got a bluish, purplish kind of pull to it. If you look at it closely, it's hard underneath this light, but you can see it's definitely a little lighter than what I came up with, but it also has a bit of a blue push. You may be able to pick it up, but anybody who's seen gunmetal, you know what I mean. See there, you can sort of see the split down the seam. Anybody who's ever seen gunmetal, you know what I'm talking about. It's got a bluish, blue steel kind of look to it, and you can kind of pick it up, sort of a purplish hue there. So what I was looking for is to see, honestly, how close to the vibrance of his screen, the concoction that I came out with and gave you guys for free, not the original. This was a second one that I gave you, the Freebird mix, how close it would be. So let's take a look. Now, I'm not doing a real comparison because this is not a screen that I sell. This Freebird mix was strictly just something to put out there to say, look, if you're looking for a 180 degree angle screen, this is going to be your ticket. So I'm going to put them up there side by side. And let's see what we get. Now I'm going to keep it fair. I'm going to start in the dark. Here you go, guys. That's the 2 side by side. Supreme 8, my off-the-cuff concoction to give you the 180-degree viewing angle. I am setting right now. I'm going to show you my settings. Now that was painted on a white piece of coroplast. So let's show the settings. So actually I'm going to stand back here because it'll work a little better, and I'll just zoom in here so you guys can see them. So here we go. So image settings, C0, brightness, our contrast is set at 13. So I've got it jacked up. That was from the other night whenever I was working with the girls. Let me get it over one more, because I want you to see, more importantly, that it's in eco. Dynamic black is off. I've got it set in 2.0 gamma, standard gamma. 2.2, excuse me. All right. So make sure we get all of that back off. But I want you to, now this over here, this is the white screen in the window. That's, zoom back out. That's his panel. The reason that looks so good is that's still the white coroplast at the top. That's his panel compared to my concocted panel. Okay, now this is in eco mode. Let me show you what happens whenever you put this stuff in a truly well-lit environment. All the way up. Look familiar? See how it gets that bluish gray haze over it? It's a little different color, just a little different shade from the concoction I came up with. Just a little different shade. That's it. Brightness is pretty much the same. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'm going to do an explanation here in just a few. All right. So, as I've always said, I don't do comparisons. Now, this is not one of my mixes. This is just something that I mixed up, no different than the gray paint that he mixes up in his basement. So I'm not comparing it against one of our products. But what I am going to do is, since you can see that these are pretty much the same, right? What I'm going to do is take his Supreme 8 away. Let's put that down. And I'm going to show you what I've always told you. By comparison, and I'll compare it against my concoction. That's the difference between Goppity Goop and essentially what you're going to get from the Supreme 8. A whole world apart. Different level of advancement, and I'm going to touch on that here in just a moment, but a totally different level of advancement. Now I'm going to do one more thing just for fairness, because to me it's important that this be fair and I not try to, alter anything. So I'm going to give him a little more placement than mine. Once again, in a well-lit, very well-lit environment. 7,600 lumens worth of light in this room right now. And that's without any windows open. All right, let's turn the light off all the way. Got a little light coming in from the windows, but that's pretty much about it outside of the projector light. And there you go. Just a little different shade. His is pulling a little more blue, where mine's more neutral. It's more color accurate. Everything in his looks a little bluer than what the actual image is. And you can tell from looking at this image that it's actually more neutral. The true image is more neutral on that white. There we go. It's just a very dim image. That's the reason I won't sell this stuff. You can make this yourself, but it's just a very dim image. By comparison, and once again, I'm taking his down. By comparison to that. And let's look. Let's go over and see about a black level. Look at Starfield. Now move this here. Turn on our lights. Now keep in mind, his isn't up there right now. That's the difference. See how many of those little stars just wash out whenever you turn the lights on? It's all because it's all surface paint. And I have to laugh because when I say surface paint, I got some news for you that is going to be a real eye-opener. I was quite surprised myself. All right, hold on. Take this down. We're going to put his back up there again. And here we go. Starfield doesn't hold up as well in this kind of light. And you see how mine's more neutral. His has got a bit of a tanned hue to it. And that's because, once again, it's using a bluer shade. It does not make any attempt to be color neutral at all. All right, we're going to pause. Okay, so the only kind of comparison that I am going to show you is I want you to look here. That is Goppity against the Supreme 8. And more importantly, that's Diamante against the Supreme 8. This blows this away. And it's much, much darker. This is a true black. You can see, and it's highly reflective. Very, very reflective, but it's a true black. And you can see, even in this room with me pointed up at the ceiling, you can still see. All right, guys, so what are we really looking at here? Well, the reality is pretty much like I had mentioned before, that it's just a very dry paint. It is. Here was the shocker. You know, I'm just going to state this as a review piece, me reviewing the product. This is not going to be any kind of insult, but I will have one last line in here that I say, because if people, and I know some people are already upset because they bought it, it didn't work. But what I'm going to tell you is probably going to make you even more upset. Now, I'm working on a hypothesis, and I'll prove it out next week, because I'll have to go to Home Depot, and I've got obviously holiday stuff going on, so we're not going to do that today or tomorrow. But this is the exact same color as, pretty much, as the Screen Innovations Black Diamond 0.8 gain version. Okay, if you look at the screen, and they put the screen markers up there. So you think Supreme 8, constantly talks about the black diamond. So I'm going to tell you what I think is actually going on here. I think this is just as simple as he went to Home Depot. He has purchased a paint that's just probably right around the shade, maybe a little bit darker than the Screen Innovations Black Diamond screen color. It's watered down. This stuff has been mixed in with water. There's no reflective solids in there anywhere that I can see. Now, he may have added a little bit of silver to it, but if you did, it's very indiscernible. So there's not a bunch of sparklies in there. It's just gunmetal paint that's been watered down. And I would key you in on something. Most paints that you buy and you paint them on your wall, when they dry darker than what the original, what it looks like whenever you first put it on the wall. You notice that he says a lot of times this stuff gets lighter as it dries. That's because he's cutting it. And my best estimate is somewhere about probably about a cup to a gallon, or maybe a little more, of water that he's watering this stuff down. That achieves two things. One, it lightens it up as it dries. Also makes it a little bit drier because you've kind of thinned it out. So as the water evaporates, it leaves a very matte surface. It's easier to roll. And I think that that's probably most of the purpose for him, was just to make it easier to roll. So it is easier to roll whenever you cut it with water like that, because it won't be as thick. And when I showed you the inside of the jar, that's typical of what you would see whenever you have a paint. Otherwise, you get these striations kind of going down the inside of the container. When it's cut with water like that, it's so thin that it'll actually stick to the whole inside. It's like you've painted the inside of the container. So this is nothing more, guys, than gunmetal colored paint, watered down. You're looking at probably, even if you went with a high-end paint, maybe about $12 per quart that he's got invested in this stuff. And he's selling it for what? Almost $300 a quart. So, once again, I'm sorry for all the people who have invested in it, but guys, this was worse. Honestly, guys, I expected there to be something in here. Something, right? I didn't figure it was going to be good. Admittedly, I go into this saying I did not expect this to be good, because I've always said it looks like crap from the videos. But it was less than what there's no technology, and I'm not saying that as an insult. There is no technology in here unless you include watering down paint as a form of technology. Guys, even the label on this thing is a cheapo. This was printed out in his printer in his house. Mine are printed out at a printer. I actually have mine over there because I want them to look professional. And not that makes a difference in the product, but I would say, look, man, when you're selling a product for that kind of money, you expect something to look nice. The nicest thing about this is the container. And you can get these very cheaply at Walmart. But even the label is sort of a chintzy kind of self-cut label. And I've seen them. I've seen him whenever he's picked up his cans before. You can still see the white border where he's used probably either scissors or just a little blade slicer, to cut these things. But all the more reason I feel, I'm sure some people out there were like, good, you're vindicated. Yeah, that's very, very close to that. It was almost a dead one for one in what I created, except for the shade. Just the shading was a little different. But it's actually not vindication. I feel like I've wasted my time trying to cut down somebody, for doing all this fraudulent stuff. I expected there to be something there. Guys, I expected there to be, some silver metallic or something. I think what happened is that he got railroaded so much about the amount of silver metallic that he was putting in his paints and the way that it was hot spotting and would darken from side to side, that he just decided he would go this route because he knew if he went dry, then he'd just have to increase the lumens and he'd get a better image. And when you're setting about 9.5 feet in that little room of his, right? Not 12 feet, because once again, he'll never pull out a tape measure and show you. But when you're setting about 9.5 feet in that little room of his with a 4300 lumen projector, of course, it's going to look good. I could take this. Hold on just a second. I'll do one last thing. All right, guys. So what I've done is I dropped the room light to about half, all the way around. And I put his right up here closer, right? So he's roughly, I don't know, 9.5 feet right now, maybe 10. Probably more close to 9.5 or somewhere in between. But anyway, so yes, with the lights dimmed to about what it would be in that one bedroom or little group room, whatever it is that he uses up there. This is about what you would get. And I could do something that's a little more in line. So I know there was, let's see, the food. So we'll do his little Skyworth video. So there's the Skyworth. See? Now I've got that one on a slant. So if I was to put them side by side here, I've got his ahead. There you go. Supreme 8. My concoction just based off seeing the video. It's a little brighter, but if I put them side by side, one not in front of the other, there you go. Just a very light-sucking screen. Soul-sucking, light-sucking screen. It just is a sucker. All right, guys. Merry Christmas. I wish you a Happy New Year. I will be working next week to get the giveaways out. I just asked, because here's the thing, guys. You know, it'll be between now and the first of the year that I get the giveaways out. A lot of that's because I'm taking some time to spend with family. We've got some things that we have to do as well for the company. But there you go. I feel like I've wasted a year in even trying to banter against this guy. This is so bad. Just so bad. And I'm not talking about just performance. I'm saying it is so bad that he's trying to sell $12 to $13 worth of just over-the-counter paint for $300 a quart. If you like this, save yourself some money. Buy it yourself. And I will next week sometime. I'll find out what the shade is. I'll find the swatch and then tell you how much you need to water it down to get to this precise amount. All right, guys. Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye.